Before he was the spiritual leader of 1.3 billion Catholics, Pope Francis was Jorge Mario Bergoglio, a young man from Buenos Aires who once worked as a nightclub bouncer to pay for his studies. Growing up in a family of Italian immigrants, he was a lover of tango and a dedicated fan of the San Lorenzo Football Club. His path to the priesthood wasn't immediate. He trained as a chemical technician and worked in a food science laboratory before a life-changing confession at age 17 led him to the Jesuits. He famously had part of one lung removed as a young man due to a severe infection, a health challenge he carried with him for his entire life. From the moment he stepped onto the balcony of St. Peter's in 2013, he broke tradition by asking the crowd to bless him before he blessed them. He famously refused to live in the ornate apostolic palace, choosing instead a small two-room suite in the Vatican guest house so he could eat meals with other residents. He traded the bulletproof Papemobile for a simple Fiat Ford Focus and spent much of his time visiting prisons, refugee camps, and hospitals. He often described himself as a sinner and spoke openly about his periods of doubt. He was a pope who loved his morning mate tea and kept a small statue of sleeping Saint Joseph on his desk, slipping notes with his greatest worries under it so the saint could dream about them while he slept. Despite his age and increasing mobility issues that eventually required him to use a wheelchair, his voice remained a constant call for environmental stewardship and economic justice. Famously summarized in his encyclical Laudato Si', Pope Francis passed away in early 2025 at the age of 88, following a period of declining health. His legacy was honored through a historic funeral at the Vatican, where world leaders and the poor he championed stood side by side. He was succeeded by Pope Leo XIV, who was elected in May 2025. Pope Leo celebrated the first anniversary of his pontificate, having spent the last year continuing Francis's work while focusing on the ethical challenges of the digital age, including a major anticipated encyclical on artificial intelligence.